Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be maxing out the Hopcat 50 litre. I have already doughed in. This is going to be an Imperial Stout. You can see how full that is already. It's not a lot of space left, and there's still another just over a kilo worth of malt to go in, which will be the darker malts that I don't particularly want on in for the whole mash. So this is, I got a recipe from a friend Miles. It was called the Little Boy Stout or something, and this is obviously an Imperial Stout, so I'm going to call it the Big Boy. The Big Boy Impy. Just named it now. So we've got it's going to be a very dark beer. It's going to have some great, basically the last beer I made, I used a lager malt and then some chocolate malt, and I just didn't quite get enough malt complexity. Now I ended up scoring 30 points on that Imperial Stout at London Amateur Brew competition, or was it BrewCon, whichever one it was. So I was happy with the result, but the comments that came back said a little bit more body, hence the kilo of oats, and a little bit more malt complexity wouldn't go amiss. So the original gravity estimate is 1117. This setup that I have here, I know that as my grain bill increases, my efficiency decreases. So although, I mean, these Hopcat gluten style systems, although they are super good at getting your efficiency up, I reckon I'll lose at least 10 points to just the fact that there's a massive malt bill. So if I end up with 1107 or even 1100, that's going to be an Imperial Stout territory. This is currently saying I'll get 20 litres at 10%. I'm guessing I'll probably get the 20 litres, but probably at around 9 or slightly under 9%. Not bothered either way, as long as it's over 8. It's got to be in the range for Imperial Stout to be able to enter into a competition. I want to try and enter this in May into a competition, but chances are I won't be ready and I'll have to enter the other one in. But this is my Christmas beer, so I like to brew my Christmas beer January, February time, and it's nearly March, so let's get brewing. Hops wise, this is going to be a little bit unusual. So I'm trying to use up some hops because obviously the malt character is going to be what shines here. I'm not going to have any malts for the aroma edition, so I'm going to do a 60-minute hop drop for Mandarina Bavaria, just to use it up, 50 grams, and then a 20-minute hop drop with Southern Aroma and East Kent Goldings, 50 grams each of them. Again, I like the East Kent Goldings. It's a really nice hop to have in a stout. The Southern Aroma gives a little bit of a passion fruit type of flavour to it, which I thought wouldn't go amiss if I was going to try, because I want to try and put some coffee flavour into this as well. So yeah, it's a 90-minute mash, 60-minute boil into the cube. So you know, when you're brewing into a cube, you push all your hop drops back 20 minutes. So my 60-minute drop will be at 40, and my 20-minute drop will be at flame out. So it's a pretty easy brew day. Hopefully everything works. It doesn't look as though the mash is stuck. I'm recirculating really slowly at the beginning, just to get the flow going through the mash. If you start too fast, compresses your grain bed down and you get a stuck mash. So I'll catch you guys through the process. I hope you enjoy the ride. And this is what it looks like. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of malt, and if I'm totally honest with you, I think that should be enough to get the flavour through. Because there's so many dark malts, I think we're going to get that, especially seeing as though we're only doing, I keep thinking I'm doing a double batch because I've got so much grain in there. I mean, that's 9.3 kilos of grain in there already, including the oats. Another nearly a kilo. This thing's going to be maxed out, but that's what we want. We want to extract and live with it. So I'm not going to do much of a sparge. I might do like boil a kettle and just do 2 litres of sparge. That's it. Then I've got 5 litres that I'm going to hold back until the end if I need it, but it's ice cold, so I'll just chuck that into once I've got put the beer in the cube. Once I've got it, once it's been in there for a little while, because it needs to sanitize the inside of the cube, I will then just pour 5 litres of cold water straight into the cube. It'll also stop the hop oils, the hop utilization once it drops below 79. So sorry about all the waffle, but it's one of those brew days where you're using a hell of a lot of malt and you're hoping to get a good outcome. I do hope it works out, and I'm sure if I don't do a glass end on this one, I will link this to the glass tasting of the beer at the end. So not a lot to do now for the next 35 minutes, which will take me to 20 minutes before the end of the mash. Then I will put these grains in, dough them in for the last 20 minutes. Just want to really get colour. I don't want to get too much harshness out of it, which is why I'm not putting it in any earlier. I might put it in half an hour before, but I won't put it in for the full 90 minutes of the mash. So I'll see you on the next step. Okay guys, so it's just under half an hour left, so I've doughed in the last bit of the grains. The place smells like burnt toast now. I'm glad I went with slightly less. Still, if you look there, you can see there's not a hell of a lot of colour coming through, if that hasn't messed it up, fogged up. Sorry about the noise, I've got the windows open. First hop drop has gone in at 50 minutes, which is a 70-minute hop drop, because I'm going into the cube, so you move all your hop drops back 20 minutes, or forward 20 minutes. So the next hop drop will be at flame out, which is the other 2 hops, and then we'll transfer to a cube. Okay, so it's 5 minutes left in the boil. These are 25-minute additions. What I will do is I'll put the corrected recipe on at the end of the video, so you'll be able to see it. Hopefully I'll also make a new intro and tell you that up front, so you can fast forward to it if you so want to. Okay, well that's the last hop drop, 5 minutes till flame out, then it's going in the cube. Okay, so I've left the wort in the container. I must have got my measurements wrong, because that is more like 18 litres in there, and I think I said I had 16. So here I've got the yeast cake, the small amount of beer left on top of the yeast cake from a previous brew. The only issue I have with this is that was a 1050 original gravity, and that's 1090, but there's 4 times the yeast now that it's had 1 fermentation, so I'm just going to chuck it on the yeast cake. Also, there's about 2 litres in there of trub and yeast and whatever, the moisture that sits between it, so that'll pump that up to 20, so hopefully I can get 18 into the actual keg. So I'm going to just pour it in, seal it up, and put it in the fridge at 18 degrees. This should just kick off like a mad thing. Now this is at between 1 and 3 degrees Celsius. It's probably warming up as I talk. And this was, there was an article on one of the podcasts where they spoke to a guy, or maybe it was on YouTube, they spoke to a guy from Imperial Yeast, and he said that this it's a bit of a old wives' tale, the shock of temperature change for the yeast. So this is sitting at room temperature, which is about 18, 19 degrees Celsius in here. That's sitting at about 3 degrees. He says you can have up to a 40 degrees Celsius discrepancy in the yeast without shocking the yeast into anything. So I'm talking about maybe 15 degrees, 14 degrees Celsius difference here. I'm just going to chuck it. No sign of anything having gone wrong in there, which is good. Tap closed. Deliver from a height so that it aerates. It's like syrup. Oh man. Oh man. That is going to be some tasty work. Some tasty beer when it's done. Yeah man. Cool, so we just get the lid on. And you'll notice I didn't wash the fermenter or anything like that. But bear in mind, I've literally just taken beer off here. So inside that fermenter, the only thing that's been in there since its last wash was the last beer and its yeast. And that's the yeast that's about to start eating again. So I reckon it's now 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. 1:30 p.m. By 2 p.m. this thing will be bubbling. Hey guys, I am about to keg the stout, but it's not quite as dark as I wanted it. It's like a really dark brown in the trial glass. It might sort of go black in a pint glass, but I want it to be, even if there's a small amount, I want it to be black. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to soak some roast barley in a muslin bag for about 20 minutes, just to steep at about, I'm going to aim for about 60 degrees Celsius, but I'm not too bothered about the temperature. I'm looking for colour. Then I'm going to boil it. I'm going to start with a litre. I'll lose some to the grain, and then I'll boil it down to about half a litre. I've got, I think it's just over 20 litres in the fermenter. Plus I had a couple of litres of Trube from the last brew that I pitched on top of, so it's a small percentage. It's currently sitting at 10%, so it'll drop the ABV ever so slightly, but it'll be like a 9.6 or 9.7%. So I'll do that, and then I'll keg it, carb it up, and we can have a taste. I know that it's going to be very alcohol forward at the moment, because it's only a month old. It's been in the fermenter for a month. It's been cold crashing for 10 days now, so it should be ready to go, sitting at 1 degree Celsius. So let's do it. I won't film this bit. I might film the first pour. Cheers. Okay guys, so there it is. That is the, I think we called it Fat Boy or Big Boy or something like that. That's a 10% Imperial Stout. I literally, as you will have seen from the last clip, did some soaking of the grains to get it darker. It is now black. It's black, which is great. It's been shaken to hell. I've literally just put the keg in the Keezer. So off the aroma, I expected a little bit more sort of burnt toast, especially from the roasted barley that I've been soaking today, but it only ended up being just under half a litre, probably about 350 mils that went in. It has definitely made it darker, which is great. It's got a nice roasty smell, but I thought I might have to leave it a bit longer just to age, to round off that burnt toast sort of taste or smell. So let's taste it and see what it tastes like.
Definitely a flavour of alcohol in there. A little bit of sweetness. I think it ended at 10-14. There's a bit of the burnt toast in there. There's a lot more complexity in this one than in my last one. I can taste coffee in there. I've put no coffee in. I can't really taste chocolate. Maybe a little bit, maybe in the sweetness. And there's a nice maltiness from the dark caramel malt that I put in there as well. It's quite thick, medium to heavy bodied. Warming. Carbonation is just about right. It's not heavily carbonated. I only force carb this for about, I shook the keg about 200 times, so it's about 1.5, maybe 2 minutes at 40 psi. It's just the right temperature. Leaves a lovely flavour in the mouth. The alcohol is up front, but it dies back very quickly. I'm going to leave this now to age, and I'll bottle some off for the competition. I'm just hoping that it can the flavours can mix really nicely and age nicely together in time for the competition. I think this is going to be one of my better competition stouts. I'm really happy with the flavour on that. I mean, you can taste the alcohol, but it doesn't taste like a 10%er. So I will go back and edit everything so that all the grain that I used is in the recipe at the beginning of the video. So you probably don't have to steep the grain, just chuck it in the mash instead. But guys, that's a really nice one. I've ended up with a full keg. I've got 19 litres in there. There's probably a little bit left in the fermenter that I might bottle off, but for tonight, that's me. I'm going to go, I'll top this up and I'm going to go and sit and sip it, and it'll probably put me to sleep. Have a good one, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Sorry it was a bit too long, but I had some bits that I had to explain in between. So that's me signing out, and I'll catch you on the next one.